The Real Story of the Bible. Episode 1, Genesis. Our tale does not begin with God's creation of heaven, earth, and mankind, but with a people, a civilization that most today know as the Canaanites of Bible infamy. They were the people from whom God took the land he had promised to the sons of Abraham, according to the Old Testament. But who really were the Canaanites? And were they actually destroyed by God via his invading Israelite armies? Or are they still with us today? The Canaanites, farmers, livestock holders, and traders, were a Semitic people of the eastern Mediterranean. They lived in a range of villages and city-states throughout the Middle East. Their religion was polytheistic, meaning they worshipped many gods, and they borrowed traditions and mythology from nearby powers, such as Babylon, Assyria, and Egypt. The most prominent god of the Canaanites was known as El. He was the father of many other gods of the pantheon, including many of the Baals, or local and family gods. He was also the creator of mankind. Two of the most sacred symbols to El were the bull and the calf, symbols that would appear repeatedly in the Bible in both obvious and clandestine forms. El's wife was Asherah, the mother goddess or queen of the heavens. To a Bible believer, none of this may come as much of a surprise. It was, after all, this polytheistic, human-sacrificing religion of the Canaanites that eventually angered God so much that he chose to destroy the entire culture, according to Scripture. And it is true that in time, worship of the Baals, Asherah, and most of the Canaanite pantheon would vanish from the Middle East, but not completely. The origins of Yahweh, or Yahu, are not entirely clear. He was not originally a major player in the Canaanite pantheon, and probably began as a regional Baal. There have been some attempts to explain how Yahweh went from local deity to national god. Prominent among them is the Midianite-Kenite hypothesis. However, as these hypotheses seem, in some regards, highly tautological, they will not be discussed in depth in this video. What is certain, however, is that in the late Canaanite period, Yahweh emerged into religious life in a big way. Initially, it appears he was a war god. Strong evidence of this can be found in the Old Testament, with the title Yahweh of Armies or Lord of Armies appearing hundreds of times, along with the numerous depictions of Yahweh as the military salvation of his people. One can easily understand how a god of war, for a people living in the late Bronze and early Iron Age Middle East, would be an exceptionally important deity. In times of war, the Canaanites could only expect to win when Yahweh was happy. Unfortunately, Yahweh was not always happy. Like most gods, he would get angry when he was disobeyed or neglected, and would allow the Canaanites to be defeated in battle, sometimes even leading their enemies against them. In his final act of rage against his people, he permitted them to not only be conquered, but led into exile. This would forever change the Canaanites, their religion, and the world for thousands of years to come. Thanks for watching Part 1 of this series. Please come back next Saturday for Episode 2, A Jealous God.